fall protection equipment must be inspected prior to each use. Take a few minutes, check all your webbing, looking for any cuts, burns, holes. One hole in a harness, take it out of service. One cut in a harness, get rid of it. Same thing with your lanyard. Inspect your lanyard for any cuts, burns, holes. Make sure your hooks are self-locking and self-closing on both ends. Just use a lot of common sense. Take a few minutes, inspect that equipment before each use. Anyway, so we got to adjust these leg straps properly prior to taking that fall. And a properly adjusted leg strap means that I can just fit 2 fingers, like so, between the slack of the strap in your pants. Right now I've got way too much slack. I got to get down to 2 fingers. There's 2 ways to snug up a leg strap. I recommend doing a little bit of both. So obviously I can take another notch or so out of that leg strap, but I'm still too loose. You've got to get in the habit of using these vertical adjusters on either side of your harness. These vertical adjusters help you raise and lower. This is kind of your fine adjustment, your fine tuning, okay? The way this works is you take that finger, you put it on top of that buckle, rotate it over, keeping tension on the top part of the buckle with this finger, grab that tab and pull up like so. To loosen it, just rotate it over and just stretch out. Like so, and like so. Now I can fit 2 fingers between the slack and the strap of my pants. That's a properly adjusted leg strap. Mid-chest strap, you want it right over or slightly above your nipples. You do not want this strap way down here because you can fall out of your harness. You don't want this strap up here because which way is that harness going to go if you fall? Up, right? And you see people putting it up here, and you know why? Look at most of you got in your pocket. You've got pens and you've got notepads and cell phones and cigarettes. This strap belongs right over that pocket. That's where it belongs. And you want to have it snug enough that so you can't easily do that. Okay? So just pull that like so. And this is almost a properly adjusted harness. I've got to adjust this. I've got a problem with this harness right now. And the problem is somebody who's a lot smaller than you wore it, and the back D-ring's too high. You want your back D-ring probably about there, right between your shoulder blades. Right now when I move my head back, it hurts my neck. I don't know who messed with my harness. I got to fix it. I'm going to try and remember to fix it before I clean up today. And by the way, all you do is hang your harness and just grab the harness and start pulling that D-ring down and getting the webbing to go through the back pan. You can move it down. And once I do that, it'll be perfect. But every harness goes on the same way. Everybody good with that? Okay. Believe it or not, one of the biggest issues in fall protection right now is this cheap little tool lanyard right here. Because we don't want tools falling and hitting the guy below us. So that's, I mean, it's just something small like that is an issue in fall protection. But anyway, so this is a construction harness to hang your bags from. Side D-rings. Everybody know what the side D-rings on a harness are for?
Positioning.
Positioning, exactly right. And if you don't know what positioning means, the way we typically use positioning is with the wall chains, okay? So I've got 2 small hooks that go into my side D-rings. And of course I don't have the harness hooked all the way up. Now I can lean back and work hands-free. Even though I'm attached on my side D-ring, I still need to have a fall protection lanyard on my back D-ring. Fall protection lanyard always goes on your back D-ring, never the sides. Sides are for positioning. Okay? Alright, you see that yellow lanyard? It goes up to a load cell on the top of my truck. And out of that load cell, there's a cable that comes down to this scale on the back of my truck, which is now reading -4. It should be 0, but that's close enough. Okay? And like I said, it's a scale. If I pull on this lanyard, that number goes up. Okay? Alright. I've got a quick release on the end of my winch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jerk this, which is going to drop Bubba. He's going to free fall. He's going to hit the end of that lanyard, and we're going to get a readout of how many pounds of impact he generates in that fall. So a couple of things to point out here. First of all, Bubba weighs 220 pounds. The second thing to point out is I've got a foot to maybe a foot and a half of slack in that lanyard, which means he's only going to fall maybe 3 feet, right? A foot and a half and a foot and a half. No big deal. The third thing to notice is there's no shock absorber on that lanyard. That's what we call a positioning lanyard. There's a lot of good uses for a positioning lanyard, and this is not one of them, right? You would never want to do this. So let's hear some guesses from you guys. How many pounds of impact do you think that 220-pound weight is going to generate falling 3 feet onto that web lanyard? What do you think? How many? 1,400 pounds. Anybody else? 500 pounds.
No, 2,500.
Oh, 2,500. 3,500. Does anybody have 3,501? All right, here we go. I'm going to try and stay out of the way of the camera. So here, watch how Bubba bounces. Bouncing is not a good thing in fall protection. You do not want to bounce, okay? This number we're going to get is just for the first impact, not the second and third. All right, here we go. See you later, Bubba. 3,064. Has anybody here ever tied off to something that won't hold 3,064 pounds? I have. Maybe I'm just it. Me and you, that's it. All right. He raised that you can. Here's the deal. OSHA says we must reduce the amount of impact to less than 1,800 pounds. The ANSI standard is half of that, 900 pounds, okay? So, which is a good thing. So this time we're going to see how he does not bounce around, he does not shake the truck back and forth, and he comes to a nice smooth stop. And you'll see how this shock absorber reduces impact. Are you ready, camera? Yes, he is. All right, here we go. No bouncing, no shaking, much smoother. See you later, bud. 879 pounds. It just came in under 900 pounds. That's our goal. Okay? This thing worked exactly the way it's supposed to. In this pouch, we have this white material that's our shock absorber. This is all unused shock absorber. Okay? Which does that mean we can save the company some money and use it again? No. No. Times are tough. Let's use it again. No. I used to be able to pry this open, but I can't anymore. What we've done is we've taken two pieces of this white webbing and we kind of weave it together, right? And then when you fall, it rips the weave. And that's what we see on this side. It's the ripping where it just ripped that apart. Okay? Oh, no. And let me finish my thought there. No, we can't use this thing again. Everybody knows that. What do I do with the impacted harness? Throw it away. That's the same thing. Those must be taken out of service.
These were a boat anchor.
Throw them away. Don't just throw them in the garbage because they'll end up in the pawn shop and they'll sell it to somebody else. So to calculate your total fall distance, you take your length of lanyard plus a potential of 42 inches of rip out. Add those together, you get 9.5 feet. Add to that your height. I'm 6 feet tall. 9.5 plus 6 equals 15.5 feet. When you're hanging in your harness, your back deering that started out here is going to be approximately 2 feet higher. Okay, it's called harness stretch. 15.5 plus 2 feet of harness stretch equals 17.5 feet. So basically what I'm telling you is if you've got a 6 foot long lanyard and you're tied off right there, you better have 17.5 feet of clearance from here to the next lower level or you're going to hit the ground. That's a whole lot more than you thought it was. And there's only 4 ways I know of to shorten that number. And one of them we already talked about is a tie off higher above your head. Now I need 17.5 feet of clearance from up here. Okay? Another way is to use a shorter lanyard or an adjustable lanyard. Very hard to work with a 2 foot long lanyard. In fact, it's impossible. One of the best ways to minimize your total fall distance is by using a self-retracting lifeline, because here you fall inches instead of feet. Okay? And then the final way to minimize your total fall distance is don't fall. And what I mean by that is fall restraint. Dog on a leash and you are the dog. It's short enough lanyard so I can't fall over the edge. I'm being restrained back from the edge. But that's kind of the way you have to think when you're trying to figure out where to tie up. Basic principle number 4 is we need a 5,000 pound anchor point with a proper way to attach our lanyard to that anchor point. Basic principle number 3 is we need a properly adjusted harness. Remember the 2-finger rule. And basic principle number 4 is always have an energy absorbing lanyard of one form or another attached to your back D-ring to get that number low enough so that you can walk away from that fall.